Hi guys, my name's Abby. I work in the Springs Preserve Education Department, and today we are celebrating National Upcycling Day. So to do that, we are going to be upcycling materials to plant our own plants and make our own little mini garden. Upcycling is kind of like a creative way to reuse something. So something that's no longer in use and finding a new way to use it. Instead of recycling, which kind of, takes the material apart and then is turned into something new, we're keeping the same material and just reusing it in a different way. So for our first step, we are going to make seedling starters out of toilet paper rolls. So when you finish using the toilet paper, you have that little cardboard roll left, so we're just going to start with using that and a pair of scissors. So to make our seedling starter, first thing you're going to do is you're going to flatten that toilet paper roll right in half, just like that. Then you're going to take it and you're just going to cut it right in half. Pretty easy. Now, seedlings don't need a lot of space, so it seems like it's going to be a little small, but it's really perfect size. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take scissors along that crease and cut it almost halfway, not quite halfway, just almost on both sides. See, so you have two cuts right there. Then you're going to take it and fold it in half the other way so that those two cuts are lined up and you have kind of like a box shape like that. And you're going to do the same thing on those creases. You're going to cut almost halfway, just like that. So you should have 4 cuts all around on each of the creases. Then you're going to go ahead and bend those little parts over on the bottom. We're going to make kind of like a little box. Okay. Once all those are bent over, you're going to fold it just like you would at the bottom of any box. So you're going to kind of fold them one on top of each other, and then that last one, you're just going to sneak it right in there until you have a nice little box shape. And there, you have your little seedling starter. So what I like to do when I make seedling starters is I like to write on the side what kind of plant it is and when I planted it. So you can see right here, I have some T's, those are my tomatoes. I have some P's, those are my peppers. Those haven't quite popped up yet. And then I have some of my S's, those are my sunflowers. So you can see I'm going to plant some tomatoes. So I drew a T right there, and I put the date 6/24 on the back, and that's my first seedling starter. We also have a way, if you have taller seeds like my sunflowers here, another way you can make a seedling starter out of a cardboard toilet roll is you can just start by leaving it intact and then cutting a few strips on the bottom all the way around. So probably about an inch in, and they have to be decently thick. You don't want them to be too thin. If you cut them a little long, that's fine. Okay. And then with that one, you just start folding them in on top of each other. Make sure that they are in order so you can see they kind of form a nice little base. Oopsie, put that one on top. All right, guys. And you have your other little version of a seedling starter. If there's a little hole, that's okay. We need decent drainage for these. So it kind of looks like this. These don't stand up quite as well as the others. So what I like to do is I like to take a bunch and tie them together with twine, and they kind of hold each other up. So I just tied a little knot right there. They kind of balance each other out, keep them up nice and straight. Yeah, so I kind of do that. So with this, we're going to put our sunflower in. So I'm just going to write another S, so I know it's a sunflower, and the date, 6/24. Okay, now to get those seedlings started, what we're going to do is we just need a little bit of potting soil. Sorry. and some seeds. So when you guys are planting seeds, we want to read the directions on the back. They usually are the best way to do it. You want to start them indoors. Just put a little bit of potting soil in. So it says my tomatoes need to be about only 1/4 of an inch deep, so I'm going to fill it up just until there's a little space on top. And then my sunflowers, they need to be about 1 inch deep under the soil, so I'll kind of leave about 1 inch space on the top. Like that. Leave that right there. Okay, so my sunflower, I'm just going to stick 1 sunflower seed right in there and then fill it up. Okay. Now your seed is planted, you put a little water on it, and you put it in a nice sunny place indoors. The reason we like to plant plants indoors to start them out is they have a lot more control over the climate. So it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's the perfect amount. And then once those seeds have sprouted, like my little guys over here, that's when they're strong enough to kind of be put outside. They can handle the sun and the cold and the elements better. So I'm just going to take a couple tomatoes, just put them on top of my potting soil, and then just cover those up as well. And same thing, just a little bit of water, put them in a nice sunny place. So I'm going to put those aside from now. Now, once we have our seedlings, like the ones I have right here, so let me just grab my little tomato guy. Now, once I have these, they're pretty sturdy. They're ready to go out into the sunshine, and we can go ahead and plant them. They do need a lot more space now that they're starting to grow, so probably their roots are starting to hit the bottom right there, so we need to give them a little more room. And one other way we are upcycling today is we are making planters out of milk jugs. So you can see this is a milk jug right here. I decorated it with some tomatoes so that I know my tomatoes are going to grow in there. Right over here you can see we have a sunflower being propped up by a pipe cleaner right here. I painted some sunflowers on that one. So to make a milk jug planter is you need a gallon jug. Here's one right over here. And you're just going to cut a nice hole size on the top. I like to keep the handle on so that it's easier for me to move them around, but you can do a couple different ways. You can cut the whole top off, so you just have like the section on the bottom. It's really up to you and what kind of look you're going to go for. So to do that, I'm just going to poke a little hole right here. You might need a parent to do this, so you can see I poked a hole. And the plastic is pretty easy to cut, so just some strong scissors should be good enough to kind of get you started. So you cut a nice hole all the way around. If you are using a milk jug, you want to make sure that it's nice and cleaned out. Milk tends to get a little stinky, so you want to make sure that's nice and clean. And see, super easy, super simple. You have your jug ready to go. Now, once your jug is ready to go, you've decorated it, you've done everything you wanted to do, you're going to start filling it with soil. So you can see I've started filling this one right here with soil. And in just a second, I'm going to show you guys how to plant it. Now, one great thing about these toilet paper roll seed starters is the cardboard is biodegradable. So if you feel like you need a little bit, your seed needs a little more time in the seed starter, you can actually plant this whole cardboard seed starter in the soil itself. It won't damage the soil. In fact, it'll eventually, biodegrade away into the soil itself. So yeah, so we'll do that in just a sec, because also important to plants is watering. And one great way to water here in the desert is drip irrigation. So you guys might have drip irrigation in your yards. If you have desert plants or trees, you might hear them bubbling in the morning, and we're going to kind of recreate that using some upcycled material. So we're going to be using just a regular water bottle, just like this. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can do that. So first up, we are going to do the the bottle upside down method. So for that one, you're gonna also take just a plastic water bottle. Not too big if you're using the milk jug planters because it has to be able to fit inside of it. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut the bottom of that off. Again, you might need an adult to help you with this one. Pretty easy. See, the bottle top is off. And then you're gonna take the lid of the bottle and you're gonna poke some holes in it. So there's a couple different ways you could do that. You can drill it with like a thin drill. You can use a knife. An adult can use a knife if they're really skilled with it. Or the way I usually do it is I take a nail and I hammer little holes in it. So let me show you the kind of the outcome of that. I have one that I already did. So if you take a close look at this one, you can see there's tiny little holes in it. I put 5 in. They're pretty small. You need a couple. You don't want them too big because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using gravity to kind of slowly leak water into the soil. So the reason drip irrigation is so great for desert gardening is because it slowly drips water into the soils, into the roots, not out onto the surface. And therefore the roots get all the water. None of the water is above ground where it could evaporate in the really hot sun. And it ends up saving a lot of water, which is really important, especially now because we are trying our best to conserve water. We're in a drought, so we want to make sure we're doing our part. So to insert this into the planter, when you want to put a little soil on the bottom. One thing I like to do is because those holes tend to get clogged with soil, is I like to put a cotton ball right here at the very top. That keeps the soil out. It doesn't hurt the plant at all. It's just cotton. And I kind of put that water bottle right on top of it. So that water will slowly leak into the cotton ball and it'll slowly hydrate. Yeah, so we're just gonna fill it up with soil. We are gonna plant the tomatoes in here. They don't need a ton of space right now. They're still pretty small. And we just need to hold that water up. So you can see the water bottle is going pretty deep into the soil. So as those roots grow, that soil is gonna be nice and hydrated, keeping that water in the soil and not evaporating into the air. Now, when I remember I told you guys you need to follow the directions on the back of the seed packet. One thing you do need to know about desert gardening is our sun is different than most people's sun. So when it says partial sun, or when it says full sun, you might need only partial sun here in the desert because we have a really hot sun. And when it says water twice a week, you might need to water maybe 4 times a week, maybe less if you have this drip irrigation system kind of set up. See, it's kind of messy. You want to do this outside. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, see that drip irrigation's in there nice and tight. Now I can go ahead and plant my little seedlings. So remember I said it is biodegradable, so if I was going to put this whole seed starter in, I would just pop out the bottom right there. Now you could just go ahead and plant that. I'm going to pop mine out because I think I can handle. So I'm just going to put those out. And I'm just going to kind of nudge this little seed guys into the soil. Okay, so they get a little dirty. You just pop those guys up again. You can see they're lying nice and flat on the surface. And then I'm just gonna kind of add a little more soil to kind of keep them nice and well situated. So it doesn't look like much now, but they're gonna grow up to be big, beautiful tomato plants. Yeah, so make sure they have access. Let me get them out. There you go. Got a little dirty, they'll pep up in just a second. Now to water them, since I put my drip irrigation in there, I have no soil clogging yet. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour some water in there. I'll probably just pour about halfway. So you can see the water is in the soil. Now what's gonna happen is that water is gonna drip through those holes that we made in the cap until the soil is clogged and it doesn't need any more water. Once the soil is well hydrated, it's gonna stop. It doesn't need any more water. It's a gravity pull, and then it'll just sit there until it starts drying out again. And then when it dries out, it'll suck some more water from the very bottom of that cup. So it's a nice little easy way. You can see there's plenty of room for our little tomatoes and our drip irrigation. And that's it. And then I will probably stick this outside in partial sun for those tomatoes because we want to make sure that they're not getting too much of that Vegas heat. The other kind of drip irrigation you guys can do, you might need a little more space on top for that one. So I'm going to kind of cut the very top of this off. Cut it a little even. So you can see you can make kind of a little container gardener just like that as well. So I'm going to put my sunflowers in this one. For this kind of drip irrigation, you don't need to cut the bottle at all. All you're going to do is you're going to poke holes. I did it using a nail on the very bottom, and then on one side of the bottle, whatever side is going to be facing the plant. So you can see I have 5 dots right here, and then I have 5 on the bottom. The ones on the side are most important. The one on the bottom is just to make sure there's enough drainage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of soil just to, I'm not worried too much about clogging here with this one because most of the water is going to be coming out of the side. But if you want, you can also put those cotton balls over top of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it this way. And I want to make sure that those holes on the side are facing inwards towards the plant. So I'm going to nestle this guy in. Nice. Okay, then I'm going to take my sunflower. Now these guys are really long and stringy, so it's a little droopy. You can see. Same thing, I could plant this one with the cardboard tubing as well if I wanted to. See those roots starting to poke out. And if I would just open up the bottom like this and stick it right in. I'm just going to nudge this guy out. Get him a little hole. There we go. Okay, get that guy nice and situated in there. A little more soil in. This one already has pretty decent roots, so don't need too much soil in it to start with. Now, if you did do sunflowers, they are kind of droopy. They tend to go wherever the sun is, even when they're babies. They do need a lot of sun, so full sun probably for these once they're nice and healthy like this. As you can see with this one, I just put a little pipe cleaner in to help keep it nice and straight. You can use a stick, some little bit of string, works exactly the same way. So yeah, like a little stick and tie a little string around it just to keep them nice and straight so they're not flopping around all over the place. Now for the water for this one, just unscrew it. You pour that water in. It's okay if you spill, it just all goes to the plant. Okay, I do about that far in. Now, you can leave it open. That'll keep all of the water running as much as the soil needs. If you want to kind of, not water it at night, all you have to do is kind of close it. That's because that water tension keeps it in. It needs a way to flow, have airflow as well. So if you're blocking that airflow from the top, you can do it that way as well. But all of our plants in the desert need lots of water, so probably just leaving it open is probably the best way to go. Now, out of the two options, those are both ways you can do drip irrigation. A lot of people like this way because, again, they can close it at night. They feel like it's going more direct towards the plant itself. I like this one better. I think it waters better since all the water is going directly downwards into the plant. But again, it's up to you. You can maybe do some tests some different ways out and see which one works best. Okay, well, thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you have fun planting your plants. Make sure you start those seedlings indoors. Once they're in their planters, you can go ahead and put them outside. And make sure you guys are doing drip irrigation. It really is the best way to conserve water, and the plants thrive just as well with it as well. Thanks, guys.